Good morning, folks, and welcome to our second breakout session this morning. And to introduce our speaker today, we are pleased to hear from Trent Stokes, who is the IT department head at Bridgerland Technical College here in Logan, Utah. And Trent is known for revitalizing the IT program there and making it into a great program that resulted in higher enrollment, higher graduation, and higher job placement rate. So he has a lot of great experiences to share with us today. So please join me in welcoming Trent Stokes.
I'm going to talk to you today a bit about building a help desk for your schools and how that can be effective and work with your students to get them trained and get them recognized. These are the 10 things that I'd like to go over today in this discussion. Peruse through those real quickly. We're going to go over each one of those. Before we get into that, I'd like to talk a little bit about why people leave a company. So if you look at this graph here, I found this very interesting. 68% of customers believe that you don't care about them, and that's why they leave your company. Well, as a school, are we not a company? Don't we need people to return back to come back to us? If we don't have students, we don't have anybody to teach. We can't keep going. We can't do any of those things that we want to use. So we need to have quality for our customers, and our students are our customers. If we train our students and allow them to resolve some of our issues, they're gonna be more satisfied. They're gonna have that skill set that they want to learn. They're gonna return. They're gonna tell their friends, and that's gonna bring more people back to us. So let's talk about what we can do to create that help desk in our schools. First thing we want to do is we need to get buy-in from our administration. That seems to be key. For us, it was kind of easy, and it was a no-brainer for us. But we need to decide what our purpose is. Why do we need a help desk? What's our purpose? So it should include things that, as you go over with your school, what you're going to do. It should include things like troubleshooting, facilitating solutions. Mostly for what we use it for is for education. It needs to be part of the education for your students. This is where they're going to get their hands on. I'm sure we all use test out here, and that's probably why we're here at this conference, why we know about it. But you need, as we use test out in PC Pro, for example, they're going to learn some skill sets. They're going to do those lab sims, but doing those lab sims is different than physically doing them. So having a help desk will get you that hands-on experience that those students are going to need to solidify some of the things that they're learning in test out. It's going to help ease the burden of an IT person in the school, in the IT department. It'll help reduce your response time. And these are skills that these students, as they learn them, these are skills that they can put on their resume. So it's going to help them as well as it's going to help you. The second thing we need to talk about is what services you're going to offer in your service desk, because the service desk can cover a lot of different aspects. I would highly recommend that you start off with something small. For those of you that have a service desk or don't, you may not be aware of how expensive some of these tools can be that you need to be in a very effective service desk. So I would recommend that you offer just a couple services when you're starting out. As you grow a service desk, typically it's probably going to start as a PC repair or laptop repair. Maybe you're just working on some of your other instructors that work in your school, and you're just helping them fix some things. But start off small, because it's gonna take a little bit of money to get into that. Grow it each year as you start to develop this and get more hands-on, get more people trained, more students trained. You can grow it, and you can start adding some services. Because your students are most likely going to be helping you and working in here, obviously they're going to graduate at some point. They're going to move on, so you're going to have to retrain. So that's why I recommend you start out something really small until you get some sort of training plan in place and things like that. I would also recommend you train some underclassmen, for example. You don't want to train your seniors who have a month left till they graduate to be in the service desk and then they're gone. It's not going to help you, and it's really not going to help them. They're not going to get enough time and experience into that. So take your underclassmen if you can, your sophomores, juniors, whatever the case may be. The younger you can get them, the longer you get to keep them and help them with the training. I'd recommend that you don't let technology be the driving factor. Don't have the technology drive what you're going to do. You decide what you're going to do and decide what's going to help for you. It also shouldn't flow from the top down. Don't have your administration come to you and tell you this is what you need to be doing for your service desk. You as if you're going to start this, you as the person who's overseeing this needs to find out what things will bring your customers into you. If it's for a school, what do the students at that school need? Or what do the faculty members at that school need? What kind of resources, what kind of things do they need to start a service desk? You can't just go visit another school and say, oh, this is what you guys do, that's great, let's start that and do that at our school. You've got to find the things that meet your needs for your faculty members, for your student body, that's going to bring your customers in to have that service department there. You need to be unique. So go with what works for you. So these are just some of the things that I've come up with as some services. So what services, as we mentioned, you got to decide what services are offered. So typically a service desk will cover a lot of these things: repairs, upgrades, data solutions, all these kind of things that are listed up here. Something you need to take in mind. People have a tendency to think that, well, if I've got a motherboard and it needs to be fixed, well, then you can fix a laptop, you can fix a desktop, whatever have you. Sounds reasonable, right? If you can fix a motherboard on one machine, you can fix a motherboard on another. Well, then that takes us to some other services. Are you going to fix game consoles? Are you going to fix cell phones, TVs, printers, projectors? All of these have a motherboard in them, right? So you've got to decide. I mean, really all these are is just a glorified computer. So that's why you need to decide right up front, what kind of services are you going to start with? And eventually maybe you want to get, if you're that good, maybe you want to do these kinds of things and add some of those things, because a lot of the schools have these same things. They have phones, they have projectors, they have TVs in the rooms. Obviously printers, I would hope they don't have game consoles, but maybe some schools do, who knows? But decide what you're going to do and figure that out and then find out what services you have. Again, remember, this could be a huge expense, especially when you get into cell phones. Okay, they require certain tools, different types of tools to use. All right, as I mentioned, some of the cell phones have some specialized tools. Here's a list of a few. These are just some of the specialized tools required for cell phones. Are these all the tools you need? No, they're not, because those of you that are familiar with iPhones, for example, you come out with a new phone, it requires a new tool. Let's take a look at this tool right here. This is a corner bending tool for an iPhone. Each iPhone is different, and it requires a different tool. The angles on those corners are different. And so all of these tools require another purchase. If you have Galaxy phones, well, it's one or two tools versus one for every different type of phone. So those are things you need to consider if you want to do repairs for cell phones. It's going to require a lot more equipment. You're going to go through a lot of picks. You're going to go through a lot of razor blades. Those are things that you're going to need a lot of. And again, this isn't all inclusive of all the tools that you're going to need. It's my recommendation that you have a separate dedicated space. Okay, a help desk absolutely must have a dedicated space. You're going to have tools. You're going to need a place to put those tools. You're going to have equipment that people bring in. You're going to need a place to put that. Your service desk can be used as a classroom, but it is not the classroom, if that makes sense. So we have a service desk, and I'll show you some pictures of that. We use it as a classroom environment where we can teach and instruct, but this is a dedicated separate space that's only used as a service desk area. So I highly recommend you find a dedicated space. You're going to need to lock up your tools. You're going to need to keep those secured, or they will walk away. You need to go over some rules. This is number 4 on that list of 10 that we're going to go over. You need to cover all the who, what's, where's, when's, why's, and how's of your service desk. Chances are very good that as you get customers bringing in equipment, you're going to have to, a cell phone, for example, you have to open it up and you have to get into it, even a laptop. So you're probably going to see some proprietary or sensitive information. You need to decide, do I need to have a confidentiality agreement that I have my students sign that they're going to keep these things private? So just some things to consider. You need to decide who can be in the help desk. Can anybody come in, or is it just certain students assigned to work in the help desk? Because again, you should have that dedicated space. So who can go in there? What can they work on? Set a priority list. Otherwise, all the students are always going to want to work on the fun projects. Nobody's going to want to work on those boring ones. So set a priority list and make sure that everybody's going through all of those. Where's it going to be? Where's your dedicated space? Are the students allowed to go on site? When? What are your hours? Set a schedule. Otherwise, people will abuse you. If they know you can fix something, they will bring it in at the end of the day and expect you to get it set up and fixed right then on the spot. Why? Again, what's the purpose of your service desk? It should include, the purpose should be for training students. Use it to promote your program, but most importantly, use it to promote your students. As a student fixes something and the customer comes in and, oh, thanks for fixing that. Oh, no, I didn't do it. Johnny from the department here, he was the one who worked at. Give them some credit, especially when they're around you. It's going to build their confidence and help them out. And then, of course, the how. And obviously, it's going to be through training, through research. How are you going to do your service desk? There's a lot of that. Another way you can work through some of that is internships. Work with some industry members, and you can take some of your students who are working in your service desk. Maybe they can go work for that company at their service desk to get some additional training. So that's always a good way to do things as well. Before you get started in your service desk, another thing you need to consider is how you're going to manage it. Because as equipment comes in and you've got to order parts, you've got to order equipment for it, so you're going to need to be able to track that. You're going to need to track your service tickets because you're going to be setting priorities if you have more things out there. You need to track billing. Are you charging them for that? So some people run their service desks differently. We bill for our students, for our customers as they come in. When they come in to see us, we go through and we kind of look at things and then we give them a price list. We say, here's how much it's going to cost. Do you want us to proceed? And then they go through that and they get to decide if we want to do it or not. Obviously, your inventory, if you're going to have parts on site or not, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. There's a lot of different websites, a lot of different software out there. Capterra, they're a company that's evaluated a lot of different tracking software, so you're welcome to look at that. We use a program called Lightspeed, is what we're using at Bridgerland. And again, doesn't mean you need to use any of those because we're actually looking to get away from that. So check out some of these different softwares. You need to set a priority list. Okay, as we mentioned before, let's say a printer comes in that's broken and someone calls up and says a switch is broken because they're out of service. Obviously, there's a priority list there. You're not going to want to spend your time working on the printer when you have 48 customers on that switch that have gone down. So set your priority list. This isn't the Eisenhower method. It's very simple and very easy to use. But you need to decide where you're going to put that. You're going to have people, we call them drive-bys. They're walking through the hallway and they see that you're open, they're just going to stop in and deliver something. You have people that are going to come at the end of the day. There's other people who will call up to talk to you about that. So you've got to set a priority list. One thing that we also do is we have an SLA, which is called a service level agreement. So before we touch any customer's equipment, we always have them sign that, giving us permission to work on that. If it is under warranty, an iPhone that is under warranty, for example, we will not work on that because the second we do, it voids their warranty. So know where you lie on the things that you're going to be working on. Know what you can and cannot work on. The customer gets to decide, like, as I mentioned before, they bring their device in, we're going to take it apart, we're going to clean it, we're going to change the thermal paste on a computer, for example. Those are just some standard things. We'll clean out all the dust bunnies inside of there, and then we're going to start troubleshooting what they brought it in for. And then we'll give them a call and let them know, this is what we found, this is how much the parts will cost, do you want us to proceed? They say no, we put it back together, they come and pick it up. They say yes, then we order the parts. It may take another day or two, or if we have the parts in stock, then we'll just go ahead and fix it, and then they come in and we bill them for that. But having that ability to prioritize, it's going to help your students focus on things. It's going to set that prioritization. It's going to help them for when they get into the out into the workforce. All right, so there's different types of service desks. Some service desks, as I mentioned, you need to decide what type of service desk you're going to be and who you're going to service. So we have one, so ours, we only service the school, and then there's others out there that service the community. So that's something you may do. In a way, ours is kind of a combination of both. We will provide service to the community, but there are some restrictions. So for example, in the state of Utah, you have to have a business license if you want to provide this service to the community. And that's why I put that business license up there. For our school, we can only advertise, because we're not a business, we don't have a business license, we can only advertise in our school. So we have some TV monitors throughout the school where we'll put up a little advertisement so we can work on any student that works on there. However, if that student goes home, because they've come to work with us, typically what happens is they go home, they tell their parents, they tell their friends. Pretty soon they're bringing in their equipment, or the other people are coming in and stopping in. We're not going to stop them from coming in. We're not going to tell them no, because for us, it's a great opportunity for our students who are in the service desk to get some more hands-on. And trust me, you want that as many different opportunities as you can get. I have a lab that we've created where we try to create all of these different scenarios. But we had a customer that brought in a computer, and the DVD didn't open up. And they couldn't figure out why. We opened it up, there were M&Ms inside there. I cannot create that kind of scenario in a lab environment. I wouldn't think of doing that. So these real world situations are fantastic for the students to get the opportunity to work in. And that's why I think it's imperative that everybody has a service desk in their school, because you're going to get those real world situations that you cannot create in a lab environment. Our service desk is part of our curriculum. It's a class that students can sign up for. We do make them interview. We do have certain requirements and levels that they have to be in. We set a precedence. For example, they have to be completed with their PC Pro. If they don't have the basic understandings of hardware and software of computers, we don't need them in the service desk to work on a real customer's equipment. They can go practice in our lab to get that experience before they come in. Now, since it's part of our curriculum, we have a budget. So that's kind of what's helped us. That's helped us get our start in getting a service desk started. We have a budget that covers our curriculum, so we need equipment, so we've been able to buy tools, and we've been able to get that started. And as we've charged customers, then we've been able to increase our tools, increase our abilities, and it's just kind of grown and blossomed. But we started out small. So just some of the tools that we need to buy. This is just a short list of some of the things that we've bought, that we use, but as you can see, there can be a lot of different tools out there. We're going to go over some of those and what some of those look like. I've kind of, just for fun, I put a little price list up there of what some of these tools are costing. So you can kind of look through and see what some of those are. And you don't have to buy all of these tools. These aren't all necessary. For example, we have some compressed air, and then we've got an ESD blower right there. So we've bought an ESD blower and an ESD vacuum to clean our tools, which are fantastic, but we started out with a canned air. Why? Because it's less expensive. It's easier to do, and you can do that. But once you do that 10 times, you've spent the money for some of these other tools. So those are things you kind of have to gauge and decide where you're going to do and how much you're willing to spend and how you're going to use those tools. So all of these things that I have listed here, these are all things that we have bought. There's different types of magnetic mats. We like the iFixit ones because they're more magnetic than the other ones. I can lift that magnetic one up, and the screws aren't going to slide right off. Some are just very loosely magnetic, but if you bump it, they scatter your screws. But we like to keep things organized so you know where your screws go, because there's for a laptop, for example, there's different screw sizes. So we like to label them and we like to mark them down. It helps keep things organized and helps the students know where everything goes. Again, a lot of different tools here that we use, and here's a few more that we have. Again, some costs are listed there, so you just kind of have an idea of what some of those things are. And I think these slides are going to be available, so you can take a look at all the different tools that we use, and I'd be more than happy to email this presentation to anybody who would like that. Last but not least, here's some final tools that we use. Now, if you add up the cost of everything that I've listed in here, it is less than $500. It can be a lot of money on a short budget, but really $500 isn't a whole lot to have that many tools. Now, this did not include any of the cell phone repair tools. Those are a lot more costly and a lot more expensive. So, where can you get those tools? All those tools that I've listed, this is where we get them. We like to use Mobile Defenders. iFixit has some good tools. We get a lot off of Amazon and eBay. That's also, these same places are a lot of times where we get a lot of our parts. Mobile Defenders, where we get a lot of our cell phone parts. Why do we go through these companies? We find you need to make sure you buy quality parts, quality tools. You get what you pay for. Don't buy the cheap tools. I bought some, when we first started and we had a smaller budget, I bought some cheap screwdriver set, and those twist and those have come apart. And I'm not to pick on China, but they were a cheap Chinese set. And we were able to get quite a few sets so our students could use them, but we went through them fairly quickly and we had to replace them. So it was worth our effort to spend a little more money the second go around and get some great tools. So we like Nanch, it's good quality metal, NANCH. We like to use those tools. And we actually carry those in our service desk, so if students want to get their own set, we'll sell them a set. They're $25 to $35 depending on which version you get. So we really like those tools. Replacement parts. You need to decide in your service desk how you're going to run your replacements. Are you going to have them in stock, or are you going to have them order them on site? So there's obviously some pros and cons to doing each of those. If you're going to have them in stock, obviously it's going to provide a little better customer service because you're going to have that part on site. You can fix that part right away, and that they don't have to leave their device behind or come back later to get that. If by doing that, having that in stock and getting that faster repair, you're going to have more customers coming back. They're going to come back more often. They know that they're going to get it fairly low cost, and it's going to be fast service. When you have parts and you order them in stock, you can buy more parts, which means you can by bulk orders, so you can get a discounted rate. And then also, it's going to help you manage your inventory of what you have. So those are some pros. What we feel are some of the pros of having equipment in stock. As you go through and order your parts, you're going to learn you're going to learn the highs and lows basically of when equipment is needed, and you'll be able to adjust your ordering accordingly. So that's helpful. Some of the cons of having that equipment in stock, obviously it's going to take some money to order that. So it requires more money up front, which probably you're not going to have if you're just starting out. You're going to need space, so you're going to be required additional storage space. You're going to need to be able to lock it up. You're going to need to, you run into these concerns of outdated inventory. So obviously iPhone, for example, they come out with a new phone all the time. So if you ordered all these iPhone parts, are you going to still need them a year or two down the road if you haven't used them? Are you going to lose money on that? So you've got to be careful on how many things that you order of those parts. And it's also going to require a little more work. More work as in, we talked about managing inventory, but that's also more work. So having things in stock can create a little more work. So some pros and cons of having inventory, just some things to consider and think about as you go through some of that. So 9 of those things that we've just talked about right there, those all have to do with getting set up, setting up your service desk. The last thing we need to talk about is operation. So the operation side. So during this stage, you need to focus on what you need to do to support your services. such as how many people are you going to need in your service desk? What skills do you need to have them know? As I mentioned earlier, we like to have our students be done with through a minimum of the PC Pro. And we have 3 other classes. We also have a Linux class and a Mac Essentials class. So if they know the Macs and they know the PCs through PC Pro, then they have a good idea of all the different things that are out there. They've already gone through the PC Pro, and through our labs, they've already repaired computers and laptops, and they've torn them down, and they've taken everything apart, so they know all the parts and where they go. So that's why we have these kind of minimum required skills. Additional training. We, like I mentioned, our service desk we use as a classroom. We teach our students that are in there additional training skills that they're not learning in PC Pro. How to do different types of things. We've created a few of our own videos. We created a step-by-step process. When a customer brings something in, here's how you do certain things, and here's the order that you do them in, just to kind of give them an idea and help things run more efficiently. Obviously, part of the operations is to track what you're doing and improve it. If you're not always looking for ways to improve your program, then there's kind of something wrong there. You need to look for trends. You need to create some self-help instructions for customers that they can resolve on their own. If you're constantly getting the same small, minor things that you feel that a customer could do on their own, create a step-by-step process. Email that to the people. Put it up on a website where they can go. So have your own little help desk website that they can go to and look for some of those basic instructions. It's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, and it's also seen as kind of a fresh new service where people can learn some of these things on their own. One of the other last things to do is obviously research. It should really go without saying that research is key to any successful IT program, whether it be in training, whether it be repairing, teaching, or any other aspect of IT. You all being in IT obviously know that research is key. And it doesn't get any different by being in a service desk. These are some pictures of our service desk that we have at Bridgerland. We have posted our service hours. These are some of our students that are working in there and our instructor. You can see that we've set up some workstations around the walls of the classroom. When a person comes in, they take the equipment, they take it to the to the workstation, and they go through and they can start working on it. We've got the monitors up on the wall to give us more desk space. We have the cables coiled up hooked on the wall again, so they don't get in the way as we're working on things. Another picture of kind of as a whole. If the students aren't at the workstations, they're sitting at these desks here in the front so they can work on other equipment. That's something you need to cover is what are the students going to be doing if they don't have something to work on? Well, we have them work on their classroom stuff, but they're in the service desk in case a customer shows up to drop off some equipment. This is our mobile repair center. It requires specialized tools that we have. You're going to see this little blue mat. That's one of the neat piece of equipment that we have. It heats up very quickly. You can set your phone, any mobile device, set it on the screen, and it heats it up very quickly, so you can take that screen off very quickly. We used to have to use the microwave and put in some socks and heat them up and then set them on there and let it sit for a while, and then you've got to put them in the microwave again and get them warm and set them on top of the screen again, because you've got to warm up that glue so you can take that screen off. But this is very efficient and works really great. Again, just another picture of my instructor who runs our service desk and some of the different types of tools, so you can see some of the different tools we use to do that. One of the things we want to go over are the lessons learned. These are some things we've learned as we've gone through our service desk. Your pricing, obviously there needs to be a price. We like to charge a little bit more than what the cost of our equipment is, anywhere from 5 to 10% we add onto it. That helps us maintain our tools. So we make a little bit of money. We're not charging an exorbitant amount, but we get enough that eventually when our tools break, we can replace them. We like to guarantee our work. If the customers, if we can't guarantee it, we feel like we shouldn't even work on it. So if it breaks within a year, we tell them to bring it right back. We'll fix it for them at our costs. That's something you need to consider is make sure you have quality technicians working on equipment so you can cover those in case you have to replace some parts. Always communicate with the customers. They like to know what's going on with their equipment. Always keep them up to date so you don't get them calling you. What's going on? When's it going to be fixed? Okay, keep them in the loop. As I mentioned before, order quality parts. The better the parts are, the less repairs you're going to have to do on your own dime. Again, research. There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube. If you haven't worked on something, there's a video out there that you can work on where you can get some practice and learn how to do some of those things. Last but not least, be adaptable. Change is always good, especially when it's for the better of the students, the better your program. But be adaptable with your service desk. Things are going to change, and they're not always going to go the way expected when you initially tried to do this. Some success stories of our students. So we've had students that have gone through our help desk. They've been able to get some great jobs at some of these companies. At the Space Dynamics Lab there in Logan, Utah, they've been able to get jobs such as the customer system support and system administration assistant, at Fox Pest Control. Every company's got an IT person, right? So even at Fox Pest Control, they've hired our people for network administrators. They've gone to Utah Data Recovery to become data recovery specialists. Blue Rim Networks as network technicians. All of these jobs that our students are getting, they're getting before they're graduating. And it's all because of the skills that they've been learning in the service desk. So we've been able to work with companies. They've been able to recognize their students. They've been able to recognize the skill sets, and they've been able to hire them and request them. And now we have some of these companies listed here. They come directly to us to try to recruit our students. They don't even advertise on the internet anymore. They call us up and come directly to us because they know the quality of the student they're going to get because of the things that we're teaching them, not just through test out, through our labs, but also through the service desk. And so it's been very valuable and successful for us. That is the end of what I have to share with you and the things that we have learned. Are there any questions?
I've tried setting up a similar type of help desk at MTech. They always give me grief about legal concerns. I even wrote a contract. How do you get a buy-off from somebody that's determined not to give you buy-off on it?
How do you get a buyout from who?
Management.
From your administration in the school?
Yep.
What legal concerns do they have?
That is messing with other people's equipment, and then they just say our lawyer says no, but I think we have the same lawyer.
So that's why we have the service level agreement, the SLA. So if you want a copy of our SLA, it would probably be this, because we're sister schools, it would probably be just as effective with you guys as it is for us.
Cool.
So that covers us legally.
Cool.
There was one here and one over here and one back there.
My question is kind of similar to his. How do you get your administrators to buy in? So this is a good thing to. I took you to did not run this as a class. You run it as a service. It's not a class. How do you get administrators to buy in? This is a good thing to do. How do you get your other faculties to buy in, have them volunteer for the hour to do, or do they get the release time to run this?
So your faculty members are already where they go to get their equipment fixed. So think about that. If something breaks with your faculty members, administration, who fixes it? Is it your IT person that works there at the school? Well, that IT person can then take over and be the person in charge and just say, hey, we have too many people coming in. I need some help. Their rooms, most IT rooms that I've seen in the schools, they're a mess. They're a disaster. They're filled with all kinds of equipment. The easiest thing they do is say, okay, you brought in this piece of equipment, here, take this one and use it while we try to work on yours. They're getting behind. So what we do for our buy-in is, one, we talk about how we're going to use it as a class for training. And it's all part of that training for the students, giving them that hands-on. So explain that very well and very thoroughly to them, that this training that you can't create in a lab environment, these real-world experiences they're going to get. That was the biggest key for us. Additionally, it helps relieve stress off of the IT people. And then we talk about some of the success stories, as I've mentioned here, on how it's helped our students. That's what we did. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
Another question, just with the students, I'm assuming this is a credit class or a credit lab, or are they paid?
The students get credit, so they pay for the class because it's a class. So that's how we run it. The students pay for the class, and then they get credit for that class towards graduation.
A repeatable elective?
It is an elective class, yes.
Okay. And then just, I guess it goes more into, like you were talking about, the IT support group. on your lab administrator, is he an actual instructor in the IT group? And so it's part of his class load? Or did
The
you
person
get
who
it-
runs my service desk?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, he's one of my instructors in the IT department.
And how much class load is he given to do that?
He has less than the other instructors because you never know how much equipment's going to be coming in. So it varies, and he'll jump. I mean, he has his workload, but he will adjust that as it comes in, and we adjust with him. So if he doesn't have a lot going on, then I give him more assignments. But as he gets more, I take those assignments away and give them to other instructors. So again, it's that adaptability that you need to have.
A quick question on, goes back a little bit to a couple of the earlier questions. Does your school consider this a cost center or a revenue center, or are you pretty much just isolated doing your own thing?
We just hope to break even. I had the instructor that I have in there that's running it now, he's new. My previous instructor he liked to buy the neatest, most expensive piece of equipment we had, and so I was always running under. But again, as part of my budget, I had to cover that. So it came back to me out of my budget. My newer guy, he's a little more cost effective and more efficient. So I think we may be a little bit profitable, but we're not in the business to make money. We're in the business to get these experiences for our students. So again,
I guess my point to the earlier question, the school is not so much worried about it because it's not really a cost center.
correct. It's not used as a generating moneymaker.
I teach at the high school level, and this is kind of interesting to me, but my concern is kids inevitably will destroy something. How do you deal with that when a customer brings in, you have a liability form that says, this could get broken and never work again because the kids are working on it?
Well, part of our service level agreement says that we can work on it, but we don't have anything that says we won't work on it. We'll work on anything if they want us to.
Yeah, but what if something gets destroyed accidentally? Because it was an accident, I didn't mean to do it. I hear that all the time.
Oh, from my students?
Yeah.
So I have separate equipment that we purchase in our lab that they work on. Any equipment that we get on from customers, so if my customers destroy it, well, again, we have our skills. You've got to have a certain skill set before you come into my program. So we have more quality students in there working on that, and they're respectful. They're not going to be destroying things. If they happen to break something, which we've done, my instructors have broken things. As you're taking apart cell phones, there's some very thin cables in there that rip really easily. We've broken those things and we just replace it at our costs. And that's why oftentimes we're barely breaking even money-wise, if we break even at all.
Right.
So we cover those costs.
Yeah, to go back to what point he just made, I'm at a high school also, and most of our programs fix stuff from the automotive and all. But there is a contract they sign that if it is student work and if something happens, then we're not liable for that. Because in our field, you can destroy a motherboard fairly easily, and if it's a high-end motherboard, they know this going in. The price, they're taking a gamble basically that, and we don't mess anything up, but they know it's student-led work, especially at the high school level. And you tell them teenagers are going to be working on this, and you sign this document to say that you're not holding us liable if something bad happens, And in the automotive and all that, there's so much opportunity for something bad. Now, nothing happens rarely. I mean, the students are really good, but there is a document they have to sign.
And that's what our
before they do it.
service-
Yeah, you got to sign that document.
That's what our SLA covers, our service level agreement.
Trent, you mentioned that your pricing uses a 5 to 10% over cost model. If somebody brings in a PC and it's just got viruses on it and you scrub it, what do you charge for that?
We don't charge anything for that. That's just one of our free services.
Okay, awesome.
Since you do accept payments, has there been any question about tax liability or paperwork, or are you under the umbrella of the school?
No.
Has that ever come up?
We work that with the school and their tax exempt. It's, I'm not 100% sure how that all works. It's more behind the scenes, but we've worked with the school because we have our bookstore, and so we've kind of set up some of the same things where we can swipe a credit card, and we don't take cash. There is no cash. We just don't want to go there. Don't want to risk any of that. But we have a credit card where we can punch that in, and we run our reports with those.
Can those of us that live out of state, can we get a copy of your service level agreement? So
You
that
bet. I don't mind sharing it all.
So if people bring in the PC, need to be swapping hard drive, reinstall the operating systems, how do you take care of the licenses for the Microsoft license or any other software licenses?
It depends on what's going on. A lot of times you can reuse that same license. So if someone brings in a bad hard drive, we can copy that we copy it over, then we wipe everything clean, and we wipe everything that's viruses or what have you, and then we can reload that and we use that same license. So we look up that license number before we mess with it so we can reuse it where possible. If they want to upgrade, then that's a cost for them if they want to upgrade their software.
Okay, how do you evaluate your students doing live work as far as getting a grade for?
So we have some different training videos that they have to go through. We have some quizzes, and then we evaluate them kind of as they interact with customers. I guess there's a lot of objectional evaluation, but as long as they're there to help their customers, they're there when we have them scheduled. You have to be there in case the customer shows up. So as long as they're showing up on time and putting in their hours, those are different ways that we evaluate them for that class. Any other questions? There's a question up here in front, and then one in the back.
This will be the last question because of time.
I'll meet with you afterwards, and we can talk about what you have.
I don't think you can understate. I don't think that you can overstate the need to be able to control this as it grows. Starting small is very important. I saw some tools up there. Punch down block, Cat 5 set of crimpers. It sounds like you guys are doing infrastructure work for the campus you're on.
We don't.
But you're there as far as the toolkit goes.
We have the tools. We do our own. We do everything in-house for us. Mm-hmm. If I need a new cable for my computer, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to have my students do it, actually.
We start them as sophomores in high school, and you know how dependable and hardworking they are at that age. But when you pre-qualify them with test out or something else, you find out very quickly what their affinity is, and you might have a 15-year-old who's great at phones. Use them for that. You got a 16-year-old who's a natural at PC hardware, send them there. And if you have people that are good with software, support your teachers with it as well as your customer students. As far as your buy-in goes, administrators come and go just like customers. Be prepared to resell your product every time a new administrator walks in the door. Yep.
That's a good point. To learn the quality and the skills and the strengths of your students and utilize them. They can even help train other future students. Thank you.